Freemans.
Oh.
We're excited to be with you today. We are authors, speakers, and social entrepreneurs and ambassadors for partnerships thriving physically, financially, and spiritually.
Come on.
If you haven't met us, that's who we are. We have met many of you though, and we are really excited to connect. And we're doing 30 days of conscious partnership right now. Day 8 today. And so what's the topic, Freeman?
Blame.
Blaming.
So has anyone out there ever blamed anyone? Blamed your partner for how your day went, for your energy being low? Anybody?
Blaming.
Maybe all of us? So blame comes up a lot. And honestly, even before we notice it sometimes, it's just a part of the ego. It's a part of our mind. It's a part of sort of the survival mode. Point why my life isn't going today maybe, or this week, or whenever, the way I wanted it to go, and it's much easier for us to point it in another direction, and it becomes really a hindrance in romantic relationships or purposeful partnerships, as we're here to really uncover and create not only for ourselves but with you. And so anytime we point the blame in the direction of somebody else, it one takes the responsibility away from ourselves, and also just diminishes our other partner. And I've definitely done that to Jocelyn. And we really want to kick off by 2 points. One's going to be about the responsibility, and the other part's going to be about, if you're going to blame, at least blame at 100%. And we'll tell you what that means. And so the first part, really about having that full responsibility, is where we want to really go to first. And I'll just share one of the toughest ones, which we'll talk about more, is blaming. This is because I do it. Blaming your partner for being in a low energy state as being why my energy is not low. And by energy, I mean like if Jocelyn is dealing with something and it seems like it's coming my direction, all of a sudden, I get frustrated, I get aggravated, and then I blame her for my decrease in energy. So the first part, Jocelyn, how do we take responsibility for our own state rather than...
Yeah, it really is a practice as well. Like you said, we are always in a practice of this, and it's something that we are constantly elevating for ourselves, is how can we stop pointing the finger over there and saying, oh, you're impacting my experience. You're making me frustrated. You're really making me sad, right? Like blaming them. Or I have heard, probably the most common thing I've heard people blaming their partner for is, I'm so disconnected from them because they're working all the time. Or I'm disconnected from them because ... And that is something that if we are continuing to blame them, number one, we don't have any power. We lose power when we are putting something outside of ourselves. We won't go too deep in this because we talked about this last week in the 30 days of conscious partnership. But just really quickly, we have no power when it's over there with them. So a powerful place to stand is we can say, okay, we are disconnected. What can I do about this? Blaming them, it diminishes them, like Aaron said, diminishes ourselves. It takes us outside of the responsibility. And it's in the space. Or even people who withhold blame, like even something we think, we're like, okay, I'm just not even going to bring this up. Like I blamed them because they didn't really celebrate my birthday, or they didn't get me that gift they know I want. And we withhold that and we blame them for years, right? And that's a seed that's planted and it grows and gets bigger. And then it shows up in some other conversation. So really, no one has any power when there's blaming them. It's even talk about other relationships. When you blame a coworker, a family member, there is no power. It only brings toxic energy into the situation. So really, the best place to stand is, what can I do about this right now? So what's the second point you want to make about this?
Well, when you find yourself blaming, what does that usually sound like? Like Jocelyn said, I blame my partner for being disconnected because they're working so much, or I blame my partner for my low energy state because they were disappointed by how the project turned out, or how our speaking engagement went. So when you notice what is it you're actually blaming for, you're blaming for in a negative way, you're blaming for what's wrong, you're blaming for why something didn't go the way you wanted it to, but blame them for everything, right? What do I mean by that? Literally blame them for how great your life is. Blame them for I blame you for how developed I am, my personal development, my mindset. I blame you for living a life of freedom like I get to. And so honestly, if you find yourself blaming, you better at least blame them for everything. And I'm not kidding you. Like even, and this really comes from something that Tony Robbins talked about in I'm Not Your Guru. He talks to an 18-year-old girl who is blaming her father for the disconnection with her mother and for the struggle that it is between them. And yet at the same time, Tony is like in her face, like, you better blame him for being the constant source of love, and you can always go to him for it. So you better go. I mean, if you're going to find yourself blaming, a way to get out of that is to actually go and look what you can blame them for. That's wonderful. That's really what's working in your life, because that's both sides of the coin. And so if you're only going to blame for the negative why things aren't working, not only is that unfair and you're not taking responsibility, but really check in with, you're only blaming them for half the stuff. Right,
and it's like, imagine walking into the house and being like, I blame you for how much I love you, or I blame you for how good life is. Not that we would really use the word blame, right? Because that's counterintuitive, but it's what we're talking about is the energy. Because blame is really putting the responsibility over on someone else with an attached emotion about it, right? It's saying, I'm putting this responsibility over there with you, and I have charged energy about it. I'm upset about it. That's what blame is. So we're really talking about, if we're going to put it over there with them, also put it over there with them about the good things. Give them credit for how amazing they are. Give them credit for the life you live. Give them credit for the quality time you do have. It's just going to shift your perspective, because everything really comes down to the perspective. It comes down to how are you looking at things right now. And in a partnership, it can happen really quickly where we put something over on them. And I'll tell you, we've had days where we're like, wow, like what's happening here? We're disconnected. And we go back and we're like, oh my gosh, I've been like blaming you for this. And it's like, it's this tiny seed. It happens so quickly. But really to be aware of it, acknowledge that we're all just doing our best. It may not seem that way, but thinking about if Aaron's experiencing something in his life and I take offense to something, I blame him, he's really doing the best that he can in the moment that whatever is happening. And we forget that sometimes. We think that people are intentionally trying to do something to us. And that it's very rare that that's actually the case. We're all having our own experience in life. And so really just giving people credit or blaming them for all of it, because it's really, we're all having this human experience. Anything you'd close out with?
I mean, I know we said not to use blame because it's like a negative connotation, but that's only because that's how it's been used in society. What if when you heard someone blame someone else, you felt like, oh great, what have they benefited in your life? Like, let's just change the meaning that it's just a word, and it's just a word that has become acceptable to be used in a negative way. So we get to make this all up, so let's just use blame for something positive. I mean, we can do whatever we want. We get to create life. This is the opportunity that we have in life. So hope that really brought a little bit different view and perspective to blame, and for you to notice where you've been blaming that you don't have a responsibility for your experience of life. And so this is the continuation of the 30 days of conscious partnership.
We're the Freemans, and we'd love to stay connected. So please, if you're seeing this video, connect with our Facebook page or any social media that you choose. We love hearing from you. And please check out our website, see what we're up to. We really are out in the world. You'll see us later this week on stage right before Tony Robbins. So we mentioned him in this video, and we're honored to be there with him this week in Portland. So really, we can't wait to connect with you further. We're the Freemans. We love you.
Bye.
Bye.